Hi there. Thank you so much for joining me today. This is Julie DiMatteo from thepaperpixie.com. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the US, and in this video tutorial, I'm going to show you 4 different ways on how I create bows. This is a little bit of a different tutorial for today, but I have had so many requests for how I tie my bows, and I'm going to show you how to do it today. So, I'm going to be using one of my favorite ribbons. This is the purple tricolor ribbon. Purple's my favorite color, so I thought this would be a good ribbon to show you how to do these bows. The 4 bows I'm going to show you today are a bunny ears bow, a fork bow. I'm also going to show you how I tie knots, and then finally I'm going to show you how I make a bow. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's first start with the bunny ears bow. I always like to tie my bows right off of the spool. It conserves ribbon that way. And I'm going to take, a length of ribbon here. I'm going to pinch ribbon between my thumb and forefinger, and then I'm going to come in with my middle finger and make loops. These are what we call the bunny ears. Now you may have learned how to tie your shoes this way, but I've got 2 loops like so, and you'll get used to about how much ribbon you need. Sometimes it depends on the width of the ribbon, etc., but we're just going to start like this. We've got our 2 loops here. I'm going to cross the left over the right, and now this loop I'm going to push back behind and through. And as I pull that loop through, I'm letting go with my left hand. So that ribbon on the left is now flipped. I will do another one of these in just a moment. So I'm just going to go ahead and tighten those loops. And I'm just creating the loops the size that I want them to be. And this is the part where you just kind of play around with it and get it to be the size that you want. That looks pretty good. Then I can just come in and trim the ends. Now this is how I like to trim my ends. I trim them on an angle like so, but I'm technically cutting straight up because my tail is coming down at an angle. And as you can see, the length of the tail kind of meets up with this little corner of the loop there. Then I like to just flip the bow over and trim again in the same way. Like so. Now with this bunny ears bow, both sides of that bow look pretty good. Now then you can just attach this to your project with some mini glue dots and you're good to go. Let's do that one more time. So again, I've got my thumb and forefinger, bringing in my middle fingers here to create loops. So I've got 2 loops, crossing the left over the right. Bring that loop through, and as I pull that, I let go with my left hand. See how that just kind of flipped around? And then I start to tighten the knot. And then you just play with it till you get it the size that you want. Now, no bow is going to come out perfect the first time. You do usually have to play with them. You just play with them till you get it the way you like them. We have just that little bit of waste there. And here we go. We've got 2 bunny ears bows. Now, let's move on to the fork bow. I found this serving fork at Bed Bath & Beyond probably about 10 years ago. The key is to get a larger size fork, so typically a serving fork, and you want to make sure that it has 4 tines. The key is that you have the center opening, and that is the key for doing a fork bow. So again, I've got my spool of ribbon on the right side. I'm going to take my ribbon and pass it over the top of the fork, kind of holding it in place with my thumb. Then I'll bring this end behind, like so. Then you take the end and press it through the center of the fork. I'm going to pull it through, up and over, and then back through the fork, okay? So through, up, over. Now I like to flip the fork and just make sure that that ribbon is looking okay on the back side, and it does. So I've got the cut end here on the top and the end attached to the spool here on the bottom. I'm taking this top one and going over, under, and through to tie this in a knot, okay? Now for me, the tails of the ribbon just naturally want to go upward, so I guess we're kind of tying this bow upside down. Now if I flip this over, I can slide the bow off the fork, and then I like to squeeze on the knot and then pull the tails down, like so. You don't have to do a ton of zhuzhing with this bow. That looks pretty good, and we can come in and trim our tails. I'll show you this one more time. There is a fork bow. Okay, so let's do that one more time. Got our serving fork, spool on the right, pass the ribbon over the top of the fork, bring the end to the back. Then we're going to cross it over. See how it's kind of crossed over like so. Then going through the middle of the fork, pulling it back over and through like so. Again, let's check to make sure that our ribbon looks okay on the back side. Looks good. Got this one on the top. And then we're just tying it in a knot. We can pull it off the fork. Pinching on the knot, pull the tails down. And again, you can then just attach this bow using mini glue dots to your project. So there are our 2 fork bows. The other thing I like about this fork bow, you can kind of control if you've got a ribbon that has different colors like this one. You see how all the ribbon is in the same direction? That's one thing that's the fork bow is really good for. Now I think you can see with the bunny ears bow that we've got the dark purple on the top on this side and the dark purple on the bottom on that side, and that's just the way that we tie the knot on these. So some subtle differences there. Now I'm going to bring in my D block here, and this is what we're going to use to tie a knot. So I'm going to I've got my spool on the right like always. I'm going to pass my ribbon under my project. So pretend this clear block is your project. Got the tail end here. The next thing I do is I take the spool end and I pass it to the left of my workspace. So we kind of have our ribbon now in this Z formation. I'm going to take the end here, go up, over, behind, and then I'm twisting my left hand like so. Okay, so let me do that again. This was on the right of our workspace. We pass it to the left. Bring the tail up here, up, over, behind, and then I'm twisting this left one. It's almost like you're tying a present. Then I place my middle finger on the knot there. I'm going to bring this top one down, okay? Then I take the end, pass it over and through, and I switch the finger that's holding the knot, okay? Then I'm only pulling the right side a little bit. I'm going to press my thumb down, and I'm not going to pull from the right side for a while here. I'm just going to pull from the left so that we get our knot smoothing over there. And you could pull this knot in any direction, whichever way you want your tails of the knot to go, like so. Okay, so that's what that looks like. By only pulling from the left, that ribbon knot smooths itself over, and I'm just going to come in and cut the ends here on this knot. We'll do this one again. That's what that looks like up close. Now, if you wanted to tie this on a clear block and add it to your project, you can just come to the back, trim that ribbon wherever you want it, and then you can attach that to your card. So let me show you that one again. We've got our spool on the right, passing it under our project, also known as the clear block in this example. Then we'll take our spool and pass it to the left side of our workspace, like so. This cut end is going to go up, over, behind, and through, and then I'm going to twist the left side and pull tight, okay? Holding that knot in place, I'm bringing the top down, the bottom comes up, over, and through. Again, I'm switching the finger holding the knot to my left hand, pulling on the right slightly, holding that into place as I pull then from the left only. And then you can see that knot smooths over. Like so, we just trim our ends. And there we go. Again, I'm just going to trim this from the back. Like so. Okay, and for the bow you've all been waiting for, again, we're going to start with the spool on the right side of our workspace. Pass the ribbon under the project, in this case, the clear block. Take the spool from the right side of my workspace to the left. Again, we've got that Z formation, and this is going to look really similar to the knot we just did. It starts off the same. So we're going to go up, over, behind, and through with the cut end. Twist the end that's on the spool. Hold the knot in place. Now this is where it's going to differ. I'm going to bring up this bottom cut end and create a loop here that I'm going to then hold between my thumb and middle finger, like so. Then this top one, I'm now going to bring down around the loop. Then I'm going to push that ribbon back through the loop, but behind the existing loop with my middle finger. And then I also try to pull this end that's attached to the spool down with my middle finger as I tie a knot. I will do this one again, but you'll notice that that gets the bow where the loops are up and the tails are down. Now, if you want to, you can put your fingers in the bow loops here, and then we can kind of pull and get this to the right size that we want it. Pulling those tails down. And you can keep tightening this knot if you need to. Now that looks pretty good. So I'm going to come and cut my tails. And that's how I tie my bows. How pretty is that? Now we can go ahead and cut this and put it on a project. Obviously, if you're tying it around your project, you wouldn't be cutting it. But this would also be a great way to add to a card front by just adding adhesive to the ends and wrapping it around the cardstock layer. So let me show you that one again. Again, we've got our spool on the right side of our workspace. Pass it under the project. Take the spool and move it to the left side of your workspace. So we have that Z formation. We're taking the cut end, going up, over, behind, and through. And then I twist this top one, kind of creating this plus sign here. Then I'm going to press my middle finger holding that knot, bringing up the loop, then holding it with my thumb, like so. Taking this top, bringing it down around the loop. Then I press the loop through the back. And I kind of, with my middle finger, just pull this ribbon downwards. That's going to end up being one of the tails. And then I tighten the knot. Then I can come in, put my fingers in the loops. Just gives you more control. And again, no bow is going to come out perfect the first time. You got to work the bow just a little bit to get it where you want it and the way you want it to look. And depending on the width of the ribbon, obviously the bow is going to be bigger or smaller. And you can just trim the ends. Like so. And there's the finished bow. All right, I'm going to show you this bow one more time, but zoomed in. So I've got my spool on the right side of my workspace, under the project. Then I take the spool and move it to the left side of my workspace. Then the cut end, we're going to go up, over, behind, and through, twisting this top one, holding that knot in place. I'm going to bring up the loop there, like so. Then the end that's attached to the spool, I'm going to bring it around the right side of that loop and then passing it through the back side. I kind of push my middle finger to give me a loop there, and then I just bring this tail down as I kind of brought it down with my hands as I tighten the knot. Then I just start to play with the bow. Put your fingers in the loops if you need to. And you can just pull and make the loops a smaller size. Just keep tightening it. You don't need the knot to be super tight, but you want it to be tight enough that your bow is going to stay in place. And again, I'll just put my fingers in there, help me manipulate the bow, making sure I'm pulling the tails downward. Like so. Let's cut the tails. And your bow is good to go. A tip that I like to use is if I tie this around a project, I like to stick a mini glue dot behind the bow on the knot. Keeps the bow right where we want it to go. In today's tutorial, I showed you how to do a bow is what I'm calling this. So a bow. We also did a square knot. I showed you a fork bow and then a bunny ears bow. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss my next video. I'd love to have you come visit me at thepaperpixie.com where I post projects every weekday to inspire you. I have options to subscribe to both my newsletter as well as my blog updates, and I'd love to welcome you as a new subscriber. You can shop with me anytime at thepaperpixie.com/shop. And if you're interested in a discount on your Stampin' Up! Purchases, the starter kit is the ultimate bundle, and I'd love to welcome you to my team of Paper Pixies. You can purchase the starter kit at thepaperpixie.com/join. If you don't already have a demonstrator and you'd like a complimentary copy of one of our catalogs, you can submit a catalog request at thepaperpixie.com/catalogs. And if this video tutorial gives you success at tying bows, I'd love to hear about it, so feel free to send me a message or leave a comment, or even share your beautiful bows on social media with the hashtag #PaperPixie, and I'll be sure to check it out. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful and blessed day. Take care. Bye.